To come up with a question for the other that they would like to ask their opponent. And John, let's start with you. What would you like to ask Drew Hastings?
My sources say you spend a lot of time on Facebook, and one of your recent postings raises questions in my mind. You are stating that you are wanting to create jobs in Hillsboro and promote Hillsboro. But that particular posting stated that you wanted to boycott the Highland County Press, therefore basically putting them out of business and eliminating 5 to 7 jobs.
Okay.
I don't understand.
Come on, let me answer this one. I got it.
Are you finished? Okay.
Okay. First of all, social networking is probably a part of a lot of people's lives. Did I say boycott? I don't recall exactly what I said. I did not call for the community to boycott the free weekly newspaper. For one thing, it's a free weekly newspaper.
I would prefer that we don't get too far into criticism.
Oh, okay. Well, we don't have to. Okay, we won't have to get into that. Your question, though, you know, your sources. This goes back to, and you initiated this with your sources, John. And this will lead into my question for you. Your sources, in your last opening, and I have to tell you, I took great offense at this. Which is why I found it odd that you found anything to admire about me, because in your opening comments in our last debate, sponsored by the AAUW, you made it a point in your opening comments to say, tell the audience, I, John Olivo, I do not smoke. I have never used drugs. I am willing to submit to a background check. I am willing to do this. I am willing to, and I believe in God. All of those things were a statement you saying, and the reason that you said them was to infer that I was obviously guilty of all these other things. And that's the question is, I guess my question is this all something you believe? Because you don't really know me at all, and I take great offense. You know, I'd have to...
Okay. John, you'd like to respond?
I will respond. In early September, I became aware that Representative Hagan from Northern Ohio, from the Youngstown area, was going to introduce legislation in the Ohio legislature requesting for a bill that all elected officials submit to drug testing. Applies only to the upper elected officials within the state of Ohio, not down here on the grassroots. However, I look at Hillsboro as a corporation with the mayor as being the CEO. In all corporations, whenever they are looking now to replace CEOs, normally they are requested to take a drug test. Therefore, I made the comment in anticipation that the grassroots would filter down to the level of local government. And therefore, you know, let's cut to the chase. I'm willing from the get-go to take and submit to a drug test. That's, you know, if people want to read something else into it, more power.
We have
Town properties. As mayor, you'll have influence over ordinances and regulations that might affect these businesses and buildings in Hillsboro. Does this present a conflict of interest? If not, why not?
Well, I think you have to ensure that there's no conflict of interest. I don't think there's no secret in this community is the 3 buildings that I own. One of them, I would step off the board of directors because I think there would be a conflict of interest because we're trying to get the Opera House renovated and transition it into a nonprofit where it can be properly renovated. The other 2 properties, no, I think that's obvious. Everybody in this city knows the couple of properties I own uptown. So no, I would recuse myself from any voter decision-making that would benefit me unduly in there. You know, and to answer a related question about, well, it makes sense that Mr. Hastings would like to see uptown Hillsboro renovated because he owns a couple of buildings uptown. Well, you know, I would say that there are 150 buildings uptown. If my buildings happen to become worth more because of economic development or something we've done in Hillsboro, 175 other buildings become worth more. That's the point.
Okay. Would conflict with his job as mayor.
If he excuses himself from issues on council or coming before the citizens in regards to the ownership of property, I do not have a problem. Over the years serving on council, I excused myself from many times because of a potential conflict of interest as it related to city finances. So I think as long as he follows the Ohio Ethics Commission guidelines, I would not have a problem with it.
Served on council, do you feel that tough decisions were avoided then too?
A lot of what has led to the sewer increases occurred during the 4 years I was off of council in the planning for the sewer plant. So I do not have the intimate background to determine the engineering, the cost studies, and so forth. Previous years, frankly, I don't remember the issues that when maybe sewer adjustments came up. We tried to build some reserves, but EPA and overflows at the south sewer plant eroded those very, very quickly. But the problems really go back into probably into the 60s and 70s when funds should have been put aside and maintenance issues should have had more attention paid to them.
No, I don't. I really don't want to speculate on past legislation or how we arrived at the point. I don't like looking backward. I like to look forward and say, hey, here's where we are. Let's deal with it.
Routines contain humor and jokes that some might consider in bad taste and even raunchy. What do you say to people who believe that the type of humor that you use in performance can't be separated from your character as mayor of Hillsboro?
Well, I would, raunchy's a bit much. I'd like to think I have a little more taste than that. You know, I'll put it back to you. There's a lot of people out here, I'm sure everybody here liked Johnny Carson. I was a huge Johnny Carson fan. And Johnny Carson entertained America 5 nights a week. And he was beloved. And I idolized Johnny Carson. But most people here don't know probably that Johnny Carson every weekend went over to Las Vegas, which is an hour flight from LA, from where he did his show. And he would go to Las Vegas, and he would do shows in the Las Vegas showrooms with all his friends, Buddy Hackett and all the comedians of the day. And he did this all the way through into the 80s when he passed. And he would do, when he was in Las Vegas, he would do shows that would curl your hair. He could be the most, sometimes off-color and tell some really, you know, kind of edgy material. But Johnny Carson, he knew appropriateness. And he went back Monday, and then he entertained America in the PG way that he was. You know, I had an elderly voter come up to me a while back, and she said, Mr. Hastings, you know, sometimes I hear that you cuss like a sailor, but I'm going to vote for you anyway. And I said, yes, I do, ma'am. Sometimes I cuss. But I make sure I don't cuss in front of old ladies or little kids. And it's about appropriateness. And